and thank you for joining me for our third virtual social series workshop, Supports and Circle of Allies. Before we get into this workshop, I want to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. These lands are covered by the treaties of peace and friendship that date from the mid to late 1700s. And we are so thankful to be able to live, work, and play on these lands as people with disabilities and as Nova Scotians. My name is Caitlin Phillips. I am both a program specialist as well as the executive assistant to Carrie Ernst, our executive director here at ILNS. Within my time with the organization, I've had the opportunity to be involved with a variety of projects within the organization, from providing public relations and marketing direction to supporting Nova Scotians with disabilities and their families in successfully moving through the Registered Disability Savings Plan or RDSP process, to being a co-facilitator for our pre-employment program, or as my colleague Pierre and I have described it, our pre-employment program, In Motion and Momentum Plus, or IM&M Plus, and so much more. That is one of the great advantages, in my opinion, of working at a nonprofit organization, is that we get to be involved in so many different projects and activities. In today's workshop, we're going to discuss the variety of supports we can leverage, as well as how to build our own circle of allies. At some point, there will be pretty interactive activities. All of us have different connections and relationships with the world around us. These can include family members, friends, the neighborhood and or city we live in, our cultural community, the natural world, the spiritual world, and much more. As a result of this, we potentially have a role to play in each of these areas. And on the flip side, these areas can also offer a variety of supports to us as well. Now, sometimes we may feel a little bit isolated or not fully connected to certain people or parts within our own world. There may be a variety of reasons for this. The top one that comes to mind is the pandemic. There might also be financial reasons why we might feel a little bit disconnected with certain parts of our world. Maybe we feel that we cannot afford to do certain activities that have a financial cost to them. And so we feel that we're disconnected that way. We may sometimes feel within certain parts of our own world that we may not fit in, or that we might not have enough in common with other people within those different parts of our world. And finally, we may also feel that we've burned bridges with certain people or certain parts of our world in the past. But it is important to realize that there will always be parts of our own world that we feel fully supported, and these areas might change over time depending on what our needs and what our goals are. I want to ask the question, what does it look like when we positively connect with the world around us? But how does it feel? How does it look to you when we positively connect with the world around us? We might feel happy when we connect with the world around us. There might be a sense of belonging, depending on what parts of our own world we're connecting with. Some people may find that there's feeling of balance when we connect with the world around us. And sometimes in stressful or unexpected situations, we might find that it's very much easier to manage because we feel more supported. Now, Michelle, I think I see someone typed in the chat, if you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, so Heather was going to echo what you said about it being a sense of belonging, connected.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add laughter. When I think about connecting with a friend, I picture us, kind of laughing and having a good time in exchange of ideas, opinions, and all in a respectful environment.
Yeah, this is perfect. And these are all great examples and great ways that, yeah, we can positively connect with the world around us. So that's perfect. Thanks everyone for your input. Supports can be a variety of things. So they can be people, they can be activities, they can be places, concepts, and ideas. They may even involve traditions, memories, and even certain things. So I want you to start and think about the types of support that you currently have in your life or that you may want in your life. One of the things that really helped with my mental health was getting outside, getting fresh air. I love to go for walks. And based where I'm living, I'm able to get to some pretty great green spaces. So I live by the commons. I can walk down to Point Pleasant Park. So that's one activity that I've realized is just getting outside and just, working off some energy that has really helped me. But on top of that, sometimes when I go for my walks, I bring along my music and my headphones, and I either listen to a specific energizing or motivational playlist that I have on my phone, or sometimes I'll listen to podcasts. So my phone and my headphones are one thing that definitely can also be a support to me in that particular activity. Either share that in the chat and just kind of what they think supports can be for them. Or if you want to unmute your mic, you can also just say it out loud what supports to you look like.
So my family, my friends, and my support staff.
Yeah, those are great supports. Thank you for that.
Pets.
Good one. Yeah, pets can be a huge comfort and a huge support to everyone. That's great. Thank you.
Heather says my doodle journal and my yoga mat.
Oh, nice. A doodle journal. I like that. As you can tell, supports, they can definitely be people, but they can be a variety of things as well, which is great. Sources of support can come from a variety of areas. So before someone mentioned family and friends, that can be a huge source of support. Our community can be a source of support. And as Heather talked about in her workshop, we can belong to a variety of communities. So, your community might be the city or the neighborhood that you live in, but it could be a variety of other communities that you're also involved with as well. Sources of support can come from your culture, the natural world, the spiritual world, and other parts of our own individual worlds as well. So now we're going to get into a little bit more of a interactive activity, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper and start brainstorming what supports we have in these specific areas. Perfect. So like I mentioned before, supports can include people, activities, places, concepts, ideas, traditions, memories, and things. And they are sources of support can be a variety of areas as well. Let's take some time and really think about these different areas. So are there any specific supports that we can identify within our family and friends portion of our world?
Siblings.
It's a great one. Extended family.
Parents or brothers. Yeah. So
yeah.
Parents. Aunts and cousins.
Yeah.
So yeah, part of extended family, I guess.
Yeah.
We have grandparents, nieces and nephews.
So when we think about community, what are some supports that we currently have or that we would like to have regarding our community and our different communities?
Food bank,
Yes, that's a great community support.
activist groups and support circles,
There might be community-based organizations such as, even ILNS.
meeting places such as churches, legions, etc., community gardens, workplaces for adults with intellectual disabilities, sports, skating rinks, other kind of sport meeting places like rec centers and parks, art galleries and libraries, summer street industries.
Moving on to culture, what are some different cultural supports that folks can think of?
Church, history and landmarks, theaters, music venues.
Now moving on to the natural world, what are some examples that we can think of? Green spaces, different parks,
Beaches,
campgrounds,
nature trails, walking trails. I mentioned museums in the previous category.
We can also think about the spiritual world as well. So before, someone mentioned churches, fellowship gatherings.
Meditation. The spiritual world could be nature for some people.
But these sometimes, you're going to find that within different categories that we might find within our own world, that there is some crossover as well.
Mosques and synagogues, Zen gardens.
Are there any other supports that maybe folks want to add to the categories, or possibly supports that fall within other parts of their lives that they would like to share?
My Kindle for reading books.
Different technology pieces in general, right?
Yeah, I was going to say my phone, similarly to you, for listening to music and podcasts, but also for connecting with other people. Like our phones, as much as it can be challenging to find that balance, they really are a great way for us to have a lot of the things we love in one spot.
Any type of phone that you have is going to be great so that you can reach out to different individuals in your lives. But even with smartphones, you can get so many different apps that you can connect with others, regardless of wherever and wherever they are, right?
This can go under a couple of categories, but just art. Yes. And art can be all kinds of things. So I would like to just leave it vague, I guess. Yeah. But it could be music or films or like pictures, images, painting, sculpture, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Taking pictures with my camera. So
you mentioned about the land and the Mi'kmaq, and the one thing we really have to acknowledge is that we live and we land on the work and we work on the land of the Mi'kmaq.
So just a few things to consider. Potential sources of support can be very powerful anchors. They can really be leveraged both within the good and the bad times as well. And sometimes we may not recognize them because they're just such a regular and normal part of our everyday lives. But it's important to take some time and recognize the variety of supports that we have within our lives. Sometimes we may lose sources of support for a variety of reasons, but it's important to remember the legacies or the gifts that these lost sources may leave behind for us. And so they can kind of help us continue along the path and the journey that we are, that each of us is moving towards. And they might also help us in gaining other supports that can fill those same needs and provide those same legacies and gifts. Supports are very much important. So now we're going to move on to the second part of this workshop, which is called the Circle of Allies. What does this message mean to you? So what does it mean to access your allies and to also be an ally?
An ally to me is someone on your side. So when I access my allies, it's the people that I feel will support me and love me. And to be an ally to someone else, I would support and love them.
When you access allies, you can also show the same supports when you can be an ally to others.
Friends, to be there for someone who needs to be listened to. An ally can be a friend or a coworker, someone who's supportive. To be connected, it can be about standing up for what is right and being an advocate for someone who is being harmed by injustice or violence.
These are all great examples.
Allies have your back.
It is important to have allies so they can support us when we're struggling or feeling isolated. They can also support us when we're working towards a specific goal or different goals. So a network of allies can also lead to different opportunities, some of which may include employment, volunteer, or even education opportunities, or a variety of other opportunities as well. For example, actually, before I started working full-time here at ILNS, it was through a personal connection with the organization that I actually got involved with the organization. So I started off with a little bit of volunteer based work, and then it actually led to contract work. And, here I am full time. So yeah, our network of allies can be a huge support for a variety of different reasons. They may have information and knowledge that we can access as well. And as I mentioned before, we can also be allies to others in the exact same ways. So wherever we go and whatever we do, there will be people with whom we have things in common and with whom we can connect. So just to touch base on our network of allies, we can actually kind of build and benefit from a network of allies that may look similar to a board of directors. So boards are made up of people who are chosen strategically to provide specific support to an organization. So it might be a lawyer, might be a financial advisor, content expert, or a public relations and a marketing practitioner. But effective boards also have people who are positive and also believe in the organization's values and goals. So when we connect that to our own life, we might not have such specific people who play those types of roles, but it's important that we kind of create our own network of allies who can support us maybe in a variety of different ways as well. So for instance, they may be able to advise or coach us on how to manage money and make ends meet. We might have someone in our circle of allies who is a really good problem solver and can help each of us think through messy situations to find a solution. They may be your own personal cheerleader. And so they encourage you and help you to stay motivated when you're working towards something. They also, it's very important, and we've kind of already talked about this, but that your allies believe in you and your capacity to succeed. That is very important. And then who knows, you might also have an ally or allies that if you were to call them at any point in the day, even at 2 a.m., you have access to them at any time during the day when you may be in trouble or you may need to talk through some issues, or you may just be questioning some of the choices you've made. So it's important to recognize that our network is going to have a variety of allies. We may be allies for those people as well. Another thing to note is that for the most part, our allies might be people that we know very well. But sometimes they can also be strangers who have information or expertise that we may need. So if anyone's ever called, the 211 phone line or 811 or even 311 or a variety of different resources online, you might not have ever met the person that you're talking to on the phone. Or for instance, sometimes I get email inquiries from individuals who are looking for support in opening a registered disability savings plan. So they might have never heard of me. They probably got my contact information either from our website or from another contact, but they're trusting in me to provide support, both in information and in any other navigational way as well, so that I can help them successfully open an RDSP. Allies, it's also important to note that allies may also change over time, depending on what goals we're working towards or possible situations or issues that we may be facing as well. Who are some of the allies you currently have in your life, or some possible allies that you would like to have within your life?
One of my best allies, I've never met them. Like you said, you may have never met them,
Yeah.
but they call me every night from Michigan. And I agree with what was said earlier about help being an advocate for others. At work, one of my colleagues has said many times, being an advocate to them means being a voice for the voiceless.
Does anyone else have any comments around some current or potentially new allies that they would like to have within their network of allies?
Parents and my friends. I have the best ally anyone can have, my spouse.
When we talked about supports earlier on in this workshop, supports and allies, they're going to intertwine as well, right? So that's great.
He feels his doctor is an ally.
Medical professionals for sure.
I miss gathering with my LGBTQ sports group. So I'm excited for that to come back.
Thanks for sharing that as well. How can we approach allies? In some ways, sometimes we may specifically ask allies and supports within our lives to play a particular role. And this may have to do with whatever goals that we're working towards, right? But we may also want to position ourselves so that we just have an array or an entire network of supportive people around us. They may not have a specific role to play, but that they're just there to support you in whatever you hope to achieve. But what's important, if we are ever approaching specific allies or supports, is that we be clear and communicate what we really need, what we need from them, right? Really think about maybe some allies that you don't currently have, but that you would like to have in your life, how you want them to be an ally and a support, and how you can even approach them, right? But before we finish up, how else can we approach potential allies or communicate with current ones? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
I found that work colleagues and ex-work colleagues were allies as well.
There might be a variety of ways that we can reach out to those folks. So hopefully with, former colleagues, you have their email or even a phone number that you can reach them at.
So approaching with I statements and communicating boundaries can help.
Boundaries are very much important as well. Thanks for sharing. It's very important to communicate what our needs are, as well as, indicate some boundaries, right?
Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.